We did it. We've teamed up, and together we've created something special. We are the Idaho Underground Sports Network, and we're changing the game. We're covering Idaho high school sports in a way that you haven't seen before. Together, we'll be providing weekly breakdowns and recaps while helping uncover Idaho's top talents at a deeper level. Trust us, you want to be part of this. Boise Sports Talk, EBC Media, and the Gametime Guru bring you Gym Session. Let's get to work. What's up, everybody? Welcome out to another episode of Gym Session. I am Shane Larson, the Gametime Guru, alongside AJ Niebergall from EBC Media. You probably know us by now. If you haven't seen us on the show, you've probably either seen us at the game or you've been chatting with us in the DMs on our social media platforms, I should say. We're missing Ty Spangenberg from Boise Sports Talk. BST is, fixing up some of the stuff on his computer and whatnot. So we're not sure. That might be the remainder of the season. It might just be another week. We don't know. But our main three are me, AJ, and Ty. And then we also have Cherry Filmz. Lane is hard at work right now. But make sure you're following us on our platforms. Boise Sports Talk, EBC Media, the Gametime Guru, and then Cherry Filmz. We have our own media entities. We all do things a little bit differently for sports media. But come and check it out. Follow our content. And we're here for you guys. We're trying to bring this. But together we are the Idaho Underground Sports Network. So here on the show, if you guys are new to the channel, we're going to be breaking down the sports from week to week and giving you guys a little bit of our own flavor to it, a little twist. Just make sure you hit the subscribe button on the channel. We'd love to get to 500 subscribers on this YouTube channel before the end of football season. It's just kind of what we love doing. We love chatting with you guys. We love hearing what you guys think about the show. Leave some comments below. But yeah, subscribe to the channel and tune in each week. We're going to be bringing you guys the content each week here on Gym Session. Here's the thing. We've got so many things to talk about today about the week 3 recap. A couple of things. We've got some good content to share, some good players to highlight, some big things coming down the pipeline. Things are starting to get interesting in the SIC, especially for football, as teams are starting to separate. But then we're starting to see, are they really separating, or do we need to wait a couple of weeks? A couple of good talking points here today. First and foremost, though, make sure you're following us on Instagram. Guys, we are almost at 10,000 followers. We just did our 9K giveaway. Shout out to Ben Avea from BK, athlete over there. He took part in the giveaway. He did everything we asked him to do, and we did our drawing, and Ben won the 9K giveaway. So he's going to have tickets to the Yotes football game at the end of this month, as well as a 60-minute recovery session with KO Recovery. I shout out Cody Olinger all the time. I go to that guy for my stretch therapy, fascial stretch therapy. He is amazing. If you want to get your athletes right and get their bodies right and recover and just feel good, I tell you what, it's better than a massage. I go there, I get them to work on my body, my hips, my hamstrings, and my calves. If you have athletes that battle with shin splints too, I'm just going to shout him out. He's worked on my shin splints and helped immensely with those. So shout out to all those guys for taking part in our 9K giveaway. Guys, follow us on Instagram so we can get something big for you guys with the 10K giveaway, because, we do things big with the Idaho Underground Sports Network. We're going to be doing something big for that 10K giveaway. AJ, how are you, man? How has this week been for you after, football, volleyball, and everything you got going on?
I mean, it was exciting to be able to go to multiple games on Saturday. I mean, very disappointing Friday. And it had to be tough for the teams who were underdogs, because you're up, you're ready, like a Middleton, like in Owyhee, they were ready to go. And then you kind of have to settle it down and then do it again the next day. That had to be difficult. It was tough for me, but yeah, I mean, dude, love it. It was fun. I'm still recovering, 37 now. So I'm feeling, long days like that, but, it was fun. It was fun. A lot of, kind of eye-opening things happening, and things are starting to take a little bit more shape, but, we got plenty of that to talk about. So.
Absolutely. As far as the air quality, as you guys know, if you were in the southern part of the state, especially, there were some other schools around the state too, but, air quality was poor on Friday. Didn't meet the standards. Apparently, according to Jason War, shout out to him for some of the information he was giving us. If it's below 151, they can play. If it's above 151, they cannot. At kickoff, that's the caveat. At kickoff, I'm just going to leave it there. If it's below 151 at kickoff, they can play. If it's above, they cannot. And so, yeah, Friday was not just the players, man. I mean, it was tough for us too. We were so excited as a team. We were chatting together about what we were going to do. We had planned our weeks out. I was able to still go out with my family on Friday night and do some fun stuff, but Saturday plans kind of got rearranged, but that's okay. The games were still good, but it was kind of a weird weekend. It kind of wore everybody down a little bit, but it was super, super good. So AJ touched base on one of these games, and I'm going to start off with this one before we get into the game of the week. Last week, if you guys tuned in, you heard AJ and I talking about this potential, a scary matchup for Meridian. We said, okay, they're coming off a bye week. We were worried, are they going to overlook this game? Are they going to be ready for this game? Middleton was ready. They were playing in front of their own hometown, and they bring fans. I mean, that community rallies behind their sports teams. They're playing on the road. It's a 30-minute drive out there. It's not the shortest of drives. And it's just it's the M&M game that you don't get to see Middleton Meridian very often because now Middleton's up in 5A, and it's kind of like a new team. You're not so familiar with them. So we had our concerns. Okay. For good reason, we feel. Middleton had shown that they were ready to play. They weren't scared of the big dogs. They played Rocky close. They were ready to play. They're at home. Maybe Friday night shifting over to Saturday had something to do with it, but I will tell you right now, Meridian absolutely dominated Middleton. Final score of 56-7, and that 7 points came against a second and third string defense. Like, that was an absolute dominating performance. So when I say this, guys, if you guys were not there or you guys didn't catch the highlights, I was trying to post them on my channel at Gametime Guru throughout the evening. I couldn't even keep up with them all. There was a turnover. It felt like every possession. And then there was a touchdown right afterwards. I mean, there were so many things happening in that game. When I say like dominance, this was it. I can't even name one player that like was the dominant factor for Meridian. It was the entire team, but I can name off a couple of guys. First thing, Middleton comes out there, gets stopped on their first drive, and Meridian comes down, and it took them about 6 minutes. Very long, sustained drive to get down the field. It was very methodical. They ended up coming down the field and scoring. Shout out to Marco Del Rio, who got the blunt end of the carries on that first drive. I mean, he was, 6-7 yards here, 13 yards here, boom, boom, boom. They end up in the end zone, okay? A long drive. So I actually, as I was at the game, I was like, well, this might be one of those games where they're taking these long drives. It might not be a high-scoring game. Boy, was I wrong. That defense, you had Nathan Reynolds with an interception, who also had a touchdown reception at tight end, who lined out as a wideout, slant pass, caught at the goal line from Zeke, gets into the end zone. So not only did he have an interception, he has a touchdown reception. He also punted the ball inside the 4-yard line. So Nathan Reynolds has his little trifecta of stuff. The whole night he was all over the place. Ryan Corder, fumble recovery. Max William had an interception. I'm trying to think of all the names. We got the lineman getting a tip interception. He had another fumble recovery that was in there. I think there was 7 or 8 turnovers total that Meridian's defense forced on this Middleton offense. Absolutely obliterated them. I can't even explain. And then Middleton has this drive where they figured out, okay, well, I'm going to hit Tate Johansson in the middle of the field. So Hagler was hitting Johansson in these passes up the middle because Meridian was in the cover 2. It seemed like they kind of found something up the middle of the field. And it was a bend, don't break. Meridian has a 4th down stop. Middleton comes out empty-handed again. So Meridian had one drive against them where it was really, backed up against the wall, and then they stopped him. Meridian absolutely dominated. Cole Jones, Luke St. Mitchell, those were running backs that you won't hear much of, but they both had amazing touchdown carries later in the game where it wasn't like, I mean, they were set up to get tackled. They made good moves and busted out long runs for touchdowns. I mean, it seemed like everything Meridian did was just completely dominating. Acree, great, a little out route. He catches his little out route pass and then turns on the burners. Like, simple stuff like that. You just see the athleticism, the speed. They wanted it more. Absolutely wanted it more. I think Middleton got punched straight in the mouth, and it's no disrespect to them, but I looked at them as they came out there. I'm like, man, Middleton's got some big boys. Their linemen are huge. They've got athletes on the field. There's a reason AJ and I were talking about this as like, be ready, Meridian. But I will tell you right now, Meridian didn't care. They are an experienced team. They are on a mission this season. The Warriors are ready. They are not scared of anybody. They have a mission that they're on, and they made a statement. AJ, what do you got to say about them?
I mean, we told them that it could be potentially a trap game if they don't come ready to play, and they came ready to play. Like, so all this lip service that we're getting on Instagram is like, fellas, like we didn't talk trash. We said that we just go off the information we have. They played well against Rocky, who is our number 1 team, right? And who should be number 1, because Meridian, I can't remember the last time Meridian beat Rocky. So all these Meridian guys hitting us up being like, why aren't we number one now? Do something about it. Go beat Rocky and we'll have a conversation. I just don't see how we could put them there because that's becoming a conversation. It's irrelevant. Like and then you want to talk mess to us, at least me, even though Shane said it too, about it being a trap game. And then you start running your trap. And then you start saying all that you like, I promise we're not the guys you want to talk mess to. If Spangenberg was on here right now, I promise you he'd have something to say as well, because he is not a dude you want to trigger. We know that. Like, and I'm the same way, you're the same way. We love Meridian. Like me and you specifically, we love Meridian. We want Meridian to win the whole thing. We've said we think they will. And then they want to come and they want to poke the Bears. No pun intended, but I mean, like, fellas, good work. You showed up and you were exactly who Guru and I have said that you are. That doesn't mean that you can't show up and lose to a team that you overlook. We've seen it in sports, Appalachian State, Michigan, games like that. It happens. It happens. So for us to care enough to worry about you guys, you should be thankful for that. And they're not. They want to start running their mouth. They want the smoke. I'm going to shout out the smoke seekers, Mason Mayer, Ethan Beard, Spencer Allen, Gabe Martinez. And I know my boy Corbin Meisner's in there too. You know, Ryan Corder, all them dudes having fun with it. I get it. Like, we're going to have fun with it too. But anyway, Meridian is who we thought they were. That they're continuing to get better on offense, and that running back duo, as you saw, can control the game. Del Rio had 3 touchdowns, 100 yards rushing. He had a 67-yard reception, I believe, or 67 yards receiving. You know, Byington was last week. Del Rio's this week. Acree is their big play guy. I want to see Corbin Freeze and Henry Hayner get more, acclimated to what they're doing, because they're going to need them. Reynolds is, he's showing flashes on offense. And Zeke, I mean, dude, Zeke's numbers every week, and you tell me, Shane, if you're noticing this as well, Zeke's not throwing the ball more than 12, 13, 14 times a week, and he's completing about 7 or 8. He's about that 55, 60% range, which is kind of where you want to be. And he's averaging about 25 to 30 yards of completion. Like, Zeke is a deep ball guy. Like, and if they can start getting Freeze, like I said, implemented on more of the possession routes and stuff like that, they're going to be very tough to beat. They're going to be tough to beat anyway. It was just eye-popping to see them win this game like that, and it was very impressive. But the lip service is not impressive.
Listen, I mean, we love it. I got Meridian ties, as you see back here. That's my alma mater. I'm a little older than everybody here besides AJ, but everybody that's giving us the lip service. Class of 06, shout out to them. But anyway, just so you guys know, we love y'all. Ryan Corder, I love you, man. You're chatting with me on the sideline. I get it though. Way to back it up. I mean, I got respect for you guys. And then Middleton, I got to give you guys a shout out too. I mean, I know it was probably a game you want to forget about completely. A lot of bad things, a lot of mistakes, but that happens in sports. But I will shout out Pachi Franks, who is their running back. I could not find his tag on Instagram the entire night. He is a monster, by the way. Pachi Franks is an absolute beast. And Tate Johansson, we had heard about him. I had never got to see him in person until Saturday, and that was an impressive performance, because if they did have any good glimpses of spurts of good moments, it was usually those 2 names right there that you're hearing on the loudspeaker. So shout out to you guys. We're looking forward to it. I mean, I will predict this. I think that wakes Middleton up. It can do one of 2 things. It can completely break them. And I mean, we've seen that happen in sports, or it can wake them up. I actually expect Middleton to win out the rest of the season. They have a favorable schedule the rest of the season, in my opinion. Maybe 1 loss, if that. But if Middleton plays how we think they can play, they might win out, and you might see them again in the playoff picture, and we'll see what happens at that point. So Middleton, this is a wake-up call. Meridian absolutely dominates. Now, down the street here in Meridian, close to where we're both at, AJ, was Owyhee and Mountain View, this highly anticipated matchup. It was our game of the week, Owyhee and Mountain View. Man, it ended up being very close, but see, for stat watchers, they'll be like, man, that was a really close game. But you were there, so you got to see some of the context and some of the plays that may have switched momentum one way or the other. Was it really as close as the score indicates, or did Mountain View have a little upper hand the majority of the game? I want to know your insight from being there on the field.
It was a super weird situation. First off, Gabe Alvarado was unguardable, and Mountain View is going to have to they're going to have to clean up. That secondary is going to have to find a way to get stops, because the linebacking core is maybe, and I posted this, is maybe the best in the state, with Ivan Perkins, Maximus Melee, and Mason Childs, who can cover anybody. He's a college safety playing linebacker. But before I get there, it came down to, really, for me, one play. It was 34-17. I believe it was the end of the third, start of the fourth, and Troy Grizzle gets pressure on Irwin. He was in the backfield all day. Number 88, Troy Grizzle's a beast. He wraps up Irwin. Irwin kind of just throws the ball in the air. Childs goes to get it, misses it. Perkins picks it, pick six, 70-yard pick six. There was a phantom flag thrown. And it was right in front of me. And a Owyhee guy actually came over and blindsided a Mountain View kid and just took him out. And the ref was watching the pick six. He heard the hit and threw the flag and called it on Mountain View. It was a pick six. Should have been 41-17, game over. Owyhee gets the ball back, scores, gets a stop. Mountain View snaps it over the punter's head. Get the ball. Owyhee gets the ball, scores. So now they're down 3 just like that. And it should have been 41-17. So they score. It's a 3-point game. They get a stop with about 2 minutes to go. They have a chance to win the game. So it was a great football game. Great game. Owyhee was impressive. Owyee's defense was impressive. Mountain View had multiple trick plays. They had to put multiple trick plays in to break this Owyhee defense down. Justin McGee had a really good game all the way around. Colin Rogers was impressive at the wide receiver position. He's really stepping into that role, along with Cobbs. I know Rogers stepped in once Traven Hardy, our boy, out for the season. Shout out Traven Hardy. Great to see him in high spirits out there. Colin Rogers has stepped up. So they have some pieces. Makai Patwell is a good ball player. So they've got weapons on offense. But defensively, Mountain View's super dynamic. Owyhee, it looks pretty Gage Hawes and Cooper Hyatt and Bo Jakes, that group of guys, they're dynamic. Both defenses it was a high scoring game, but both defenses were very good with playmakers all over the place. Matt Irwin, he had some flashes of brilliance. And then some decision making here and there where he could have held on to it instead of throwing the pick six. He had a pick six to Maximus Melee, a one-handed pick by Mason Childs. All 3 linebackers had interceptions. Owen McBride was a game breaker for Mountain View. He had a kickoff return. Owyhee took the lead 3-0 on a Nathan Gamet field goal. Owen McBride to the house. Kickoff return. He was flying all over the field too. He's the next Troy Wilkie. He reminds me of Troy Wilkie. He can flip a game on his head like that, special teams or defensively. He's flying around. He's high IQ. He reads the defense. Same with Maximus Melee at linebacker. Same with Mason Childs. Same with Ivan Perkins. I compare them to the Meridian, Landon Eason, and Meridian's 4 linebackers. I think they're very comparable. I'm not going to go into comparisons here. I already did that. I already talked about who I think I would probably take. But anyway, really good defense. Owyhee is good. I think Owyhee could beat Eagle. It's at Eagle. It's going to be difficult. I think Owyhee can do it. Owyee's for real. They're for real. Jackson Rasmussen did go out with an injury. Hate to see that. Hate to see it. Hope he gets well soon. Prayers up for Jackson Rasmussen, our boy, the Hooper. But yeah, Owyhee is coming along. They're getting better and better. They had a chance to win that game. We wanted to know, could they hang with the big dogs? Listen, it was one play away from being a blowout, one wrong call away from being an absolute blowout. But Owyhee got the call. They hung in there, and it says a lot about Coach Blazer and his staff and what they're doing over there. Owyhee could make some noise and could be a state tournament team. You heard it here first.
Yeah, what's wild is when we went to that media day, that was the thing. Like we kept saying, like, based on the rest of the SIC and the rest of the teams, like this Owyhee team could potentially be right there in the mix during state playoff time and like be part of the conversation. It looks like so far they're there. They can compete, and they just need to get a couple things, put together to be able to get over that hump. This week will be another big test on the road. Eagle's a tough place to play, and Eagle's coming off a loss, a close loss to Rocky that was on the road for them. And so we'll see if Eagle comes back and responds, just like when they did when they lost to Meridian. They came back and responded, but we'll see, because I think that's going to be a closer game than a lot of people imagine. I think that Owyhee defense they got a taste of the big dogs of the SIC, and now they're ready to play. They're like, okay, they're not going to be scared of Eagle. It's just a matter of, can they put it together on the road where Eagle's a tough place to play.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question. You were also down the road in Kuna. I mean, when AJ talks about like where everybody's at, like Saturday plans got disrupted. Kuna started mid-afternoon, kind of a weird kickoff. It kind of shifts some things around, not typical Friday night kickoff, mid-afternoon kickoff over at Kuna. Kuna makes a comeback against Borah, okay? Down 3 scores comeback, goes into double overtime, and a Gus Austin touchdown, to my understanding, won it, if I'm not mistaken. I know Cherry got the very end of that game, but when you were over at Kuna, what did you see there? Because we were saying this is going to be an interesting matchup because the winner goes to 3-1, loser drops to 2-2. What did you see there? Did Kuna surprise you? Did it surprise you that Borah couldn't, hold on to the lead with their rushing attack? Like, what did you see, AJ, when you were on the field there watching the game?
Like I said, I mean, Kuna is continuing not to show up ready to play. And they got down when I got there, it was 22-6, 2 minutes left in the first half. BST was there, Cherry was there. I started talking to them, talking to a few of the administrators at Kuna, and they were kind of giving me the rundown. Cole Lukengay throws a fade to Keyshawn Kelly right before the half. They get a touchdown, go for 2, miss it. So it's 22-12 at halftime. And then Borah continued to dominate. They continued to dominate until about 5 minutes left in the game. They do what they were doing. They feed Parker Rushton 5-6 yards of carry, kind of control the game and play defense. Well, that Kuna offense that we know has the ability to be an air raid offense and get going quickly. Well, they did. They clicked with about 5.5 minutes to go. They scored quickly. At this point, I believe it was 28. It got to 28-12, and then they scored and went for 2. So they were down 16 with 5.5 minutes to go. Luke Snar catches 3 straight balls. Selko catches 3 straight balls. Boom, touchdown. They go for 2, get it. So it's 28-20. And right before all that, I was like, Cherry, I feel like there's barely life left in this game. And he goes, I don't know if there's any life left in this game. I said, I don't know. It's homecoming. We're at Kuna. And right before the half started, I told Panda, Caden Turner, I said, if you guys win this game, you guys are game of the week next week. So y'all might want to wake up because we've talked about Kuna and Nampa. If they're both 3-1 would be game of the week. We haven't had a chance to cover Nampa necessarily. We want to go to their stadium and we want to blow that up for them. So that's something we were talking about. Well, Kuna, they responded, but it took them 5 minutes left in the game. Down 16, they score, go for 2, get a quick stop with 3 minutes to go down. Gus Austin touchdown, play action for 2, hits Gus Austin again. So they tie it up with 53 seconds to go. They get an interception with about 20 seconds to go. Get in field goal range, but penalty draws them back, goes to overtime. They score first. Gus Austin, another touchdown. Gus Austin essentially took the game over in the last 3 minutes and in overtime. Their captain, their leader, says a lot about Gus Austin. And then they get a stop. They stop him on 4th down. McCarney tries to hit Trace Freeman. And Kuna, I'm calling it the homecoming comeback is what it was, because it was out of control. I left right at the start of overtime because I had to get to the game of the week, and Cherry stayed. But, man, shout out to the Cavemen, 3-1. Everybody was questioning, our hype on them as well as Owyhee. And, listen, Kuna is a team that offensively, when they don't beat themselves, because, dude, they had a lot of stupid penalties, guys, hands to the face, cut blocks, clipping, just beating themselves, just cheap shots. Just if they can clean that up offensively, their defense, Shane, is what was most impressive to me. They averaged 43 points a game last year. They gave up. They continue to stop people and be the bright spot for Kuna while they wait for this high-powered offense to catch up and find their rhythm. Because if they do, Kuna's a tough out. And I'm hearing that Kuna could have beat Eagle with a couple horrible calls and a couple dumb penalties. Kuna was in that game with Eagle, and they were at Eagle, and they had an opportunity to beat Eagle. They lost 21-7, and they were in the game the entire time. Couldn't capitalize. So Kuna can play. Nampa has showed us they can play with Carrillo and those guys. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I'm excited for Kuna and Nampa because Kuna showed me something. Borah is going to be fine. I think they're going to be middle of the pack. They got a big game against Mountain View this week. We'll see how they respond. I think that's going to be a tough matchup for them, especially with that Mountain View defense. But anyway, dude, Kuna was their defense really impressive. Their offense showed us the last 5 minutes of the game and in overtime who we think they are. Going to be tough to stop if they get it going.
Man, shout out to Kuna, though. I am proud of those guys for showing a little bit of heart, not completely buckling, because it did look pretty it didn't look promising. That's all I got to say. It looked like Borah was completely dominating, and like you said, they showed some heart and they figured out a way to get out of it. We'll get into that Nampa Kuna matchup here in just a second. I want to talk about Nampa. BST was over at Donald Larson to catch Nampa and Boise. It looks like, Boise came off their first loss to Owyhee. They were coming into that one. It's another tough one for them. They met up with another group of dogs, dude, and that's no pun intended. But Nampa, the Bulldogs came over there and they just, they kind of set the tone. They bullied them. That's what they're tough. Nampa is a tough team, man, and we're excited to see what they do this week. We're going to be able to have some of our team members there. Hopefully, we got to get all that approved, but we expect to be there at Nampa. Check out the stadium, the culture there, everything, and see these guys in person. Daniel Carrillo, we were just checking his stats. If you guys haven't heard of him, I mean, he had another good game, but he's a running back. He's got 178 yards a game is what he's averaging right now. He's got 534 yards, averaging 7 yards a carry. He's got 10 touchdowns already this season on the ground. They are a ground heavy team. They're going to be running the ball. But the other thing is they've got a dog in Peyton Gunter. I mean, this is the Division I athlete, 6'4", 230. The dude's bigger than me. And he's their edge rusher as well as a tight end in this last week against Boise. I mean, you set the tone with a ground game, and then you can open it up a little bit to some of your dogs like Peyton Gunter. So we're looking forward to seeing some of these athletes out there. Nampa is not short of athletes. They have some dogs on the field, and they're trying to make a statement here in 5A. I think they were pretty pissed about that Middleton loss. Another another close game battle for the third year in a row with Middleton. They were irritated, but they're making a statement right now, trying to show that they belong in 5A, and they belong right here with the rest of the SIC. They're going to be at home against Kuna, another rushing attack against an air raid offense that's extremely explosive. But what I think that Nampa figured out, like Boise, they dominated that game. If BST was here, he could give us a little bit more insight, but if you caught all the highlights, they pretty much just kind of controlled the game. It wasn't a 56-7 blowout like Meridian Middleton, but they controlled the game. It wasn't like Boise really it didn't feel like Boise was really there, like always in striking distance. It just felt like Nampa kind of controlled it. They started to break away. And that's what I feel a lot of teams do, AJ, when they're a rushing attack. If they have a powerful ground game, it's like body shots, man. That second half can get you can wear down. The issue with that, though, is if they don't have a solid air attack, if the other team can stick close to them and either be in the lead or be right there with them at the end of the game. Sometimes if you don't have a solid passing attack, it can hinder you at the end of the game. So that's where I'm curious to see what happens with Nampa and Kuna, because you've got another matchup, ground attack versus an air raid. Nampa learned something, though, from this Kuna-Borah game, and that is you can't put your guard down even for 5 minutes with this Kuna team, because that Kuna offense can start letting it fly. And they've got athletes to get the job done. They can make big plays happen very quickly. So Nampa at home Friday night is going to be pretty wild and spectacular. We'll break that down in your predictions in just a second, but I want your thoughts on this game right here. Eagle and Rocky. No one's really talking about this game. We had Daniel Wise helping us get some coverage over there the other night, but no one really talked much about it. It's kind of weird. It's an interesting thing because it's a pretty big matchup. Two teams that are rivals here, not too far away from each other in the Treasure Valley, and Eagle stuck with Rocky. Is there anything we want to say about that game? Because from what we saw, it was a lot closer than what people had expected. That's what I'll say.
Dude, honestly, I'm trying to still get an answer on what happened in this game. I've reached out to some people, and I can't get an answer from people from either team on what happened. What was this? And now that I think about it, here's what it was. Both offenses sounds like both defenses are, I guess, the bright spot for both of those teams, right? Which is saying something, because Rocky Mountain has dudes. And then you've got Duarte and Hull and Martino on Eagle. So I'm not really sure what happened here. Listen, here's what we're thinking, right? Like Meridian laced Eagle, okay? Dominated Eagle. Meridian destroys Middleton. Rocky plays Middleton close. Rocky plays Eagle close. Like, is Meridian like clearly the number one? Like, listen, I said it earlier. Meridian has to beat Rocky. That's really all there is to it. Like, I'm not gonna believe it until I see it. Okay. Because a lot of teams, since I moved here 6 years ago, have Rocky problems where when they play Rocky, they're just like, nope, can't beat him. It's Rocky. Can't beat him. It's Rocky. I don't think this Meridian team is that group. I think they're ready to do that, but I'm not ready to put them above Rocky Mountain until Rocky loses or until they beat them. So with this game, I'm super confused. I want to talk to somebody who was there flat out. I have no idea why this was 17-10.
Yeah. We would like for anybody to give us some insight. I mean, Daniel Wise was there. He was getting the coverage for us and getting some videos and stuff. And obviously highlights look good as far as like plays that were made and so forth. But it seems like the defense is like, I mean, that's the best way to put it. Defenses are the bright spots for both of those teams at the moment until their offenses can get flowing. But the weird thing is about Rocky is the week prior, they're playing a top tier defense in Mountain View and Tegan Sweeney goes off and has himself an amazing game. That's the thing though. Like, they're up and down, and that's kind of how it felt last year too, at least on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. I know Meridian's going to be like, well, the only way you can base this right now is on common opponents, which in theory looks right. Like Meridian is just completely dominating these teams that they're playing when the common opponents come up. But honestly, when it comes to the discussion of these two particular teams, Meridian and Rocky, I have to wait to see them play each other because the matchups, you might be, like you said, the word lacing, you might be lacing teams left and right. But the matchups from Rocky compared to Meridian, it's like it's 1A, 1AA.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to say who's going to be the top team that game. So we do have to wait. It's very hard for us right now, but we do have to wait till that matchup happens. But we're looking forward to that in a couple of weeks. As long as both teams continue to do what they do, they're on a collision course for this that big matchup a little bit later in the season.
Hey, shout out to Luke Lucchini, who did receive an offer from Montana Tech. So really excited for Luke Lucchini. He's been really impressive. Him and Jacobson over there. I don't think there's a better receiving duo in Idaho. Flat out.
There's not. Those guys are dogs. Congrats, guys, on the success you've had so far. But yeah, Luke's, it's been hard work and consistency for you, and so shout out to you, man, for putting that work, and it's showing on the field now, and people are realizing it. And that goes for all athletes out there. Continue to put the work in. Trust in yourself. Trust in the work that you're putting in the off season. And eventually people will see you. If you build it, they'll come in, and then that's what's happening. So as we get ready for this week, I mean, there's a lot of player of the week candidates, AJ. We talked about this as a team. We're still trying to figure it all out. But I mean, I don't think we can necessarily pick a player of the week here on the podcast because we're trying to figure it all out for ourselves. But I will say for a hidden gem, there's a couple guys. So I want you to pick two guys from your game of the week that you covered that you could consider a hidden gem that we need to know about. You mentioned a lot of guys from Mountain View and a couple dudes from Owyhee. Give us two hidden gems from that particular game, and I'll give you some from mine. There's some players to shout out this week.
Yeah, I mean, Owen McBride for Mountain View he's for Mountain View what Troy Wilkie is for Rocky. He's a game breaker, and he's a hooper too. Big Owen McBride fan, leads by example. His teammates trust him. He took over last year as a sophomore after they had a big injury. And I remember all the Mountain View guys last year being like, yo, you got to see this sophomore we got stepping in at corner. Now he's safety, just kind of running the secondary, trying to help keep them organized. That's a place that they need to clean up, like I said. But he is a serious bright spot. He's a hidden gem for sure. I talked about the linebacking core there: Maximus Maley, Ivan Perkins, Mason Childs. Though that trio, I genuinely think that group of three linebackers is better than any group of three linebackers in the state, just from a physicality, IQ, athleticism, the ability to cover, to do it all. I think Maley is kind of a mix of both of them. He has two pick sixes this year. He's put on 30 pounds. He's a monster. I believe his dad's one of the D coordinators over at Boise State. You got him, who's kind of a mix of Perkins, who's a monster and a freak, and just a he plugs all the gaps and he's scary. And then you've got Mason Childs who can cover anybody. He flies around. He can hit anybody. Like, I want to give them another shout out. But then also Gabe Alvarado blew up. He's there. He is Owyhee's #1 target. They have other guys around that do a good job. Sticks Hamilton, Rasmussen when he's healthy. You know, they've got other guys that they can throw the ball to. But Gabe Alvarado went bonkers on a solid Mountain View defense and kept them in it. So I would say Gabe Alvarado deserves a shout out. His numbers on the season, he's averaging at least a touchdown a game. He's doing a really good job for them, transferring over from Timberline. And then Owen McBride deserves a ton of love as well as those 3 linebackers and Troy Grizzle on the line. They moved Troy Grizzle from tight end to D-line 5 days before the season. And Troy Grizzle, with the sickest bear tattoo I've ever seen, is living in the backfield. He's a beast. I believe he's a junior too. His sister Sierra Grizzle is the top volleyball player, the top overall volleyball player in the SIC. So runs in the fam.
Yeah, dude, for sure. I love all the names that you mentioned there. And Gabe Alvarado, for those you didn't catch that, AJ was mentioned he's a transfer. I think Timberline was he came from T-Line. And we heard about him, heard about his athleticism, how fast he was. His coaches told us before the season how, keep an eye on him because he's just an athlete. So if you can get the ball to him in open space, like he can move. And it seems like they're figuring that out. It felt like the first game, even against Madison, like he wasn't involved as much as he probably could have been. But, that's what happens around the course of the season. You start to watch film, you start to see what happens and like how to get your playmakers the ball. That you figure that stuff out as the season goes on. Sometimes you have to draw up plays. You got to go against certain coverages, but it sounds like that's what they're doing over to Owyhee. So congrats to them. Let's get the ball in the playmakers' hands, and you can see what can happen there. You can compete with some of the big dogs and even win some of those big games. So shout out to all of them. I said it before. I don't want to, beat a dead horse here, but Meridian had a ton of dogs. But Marco Del Rio, I think he finished with 3 touchdowns. You mentioned it earlier, but I mean, one was through the air. The other, I mean, he was a beast overall. The whole thing with Meridian is sometimes you're going to hear about Del Rio. Sometimes you're going to hear about Byington. Like you said, it's a duo. So sometimes you don't get the full, you're like, oh, well, why isn't he every week? Well, he's not an elite back if he's not every. It's because they truly have 2 backs that can do it at any time. Byington had himself a game against Mountain View. Del Rio had himself a game against Middleton. It's just they're 2 true, and they're like very similar in stature. When they were standing by each other on the sideline, I'm like, dang, dude, like they look the exact same as far as height and stature. Like it's wild. Those 2 are dogs. But I want to give a shout out this week to Marco Del Rio for really setting the tone. Meridian had a bunch of dogs out there. I named them earlier. Like everybody was kind of eating at this one. Zeke had himself a very efficient game, like you were mentioning, like not a ton of completions. Like he'll throw a very small in comparison, like a handful of passes. He's not going to be like, Luke and Gay over at Kuna, but he's efficient. He's getting more and more efficient with it too, which is wild. But it was Marco Del Rio that set the tone from the very beginning on the first drive that got him in the end zone. And then he's getting the pass and he's taking it down. Like he set the tone. I give him a shout out. You guys need to remember his name, Del Rio over at Meridian. That running back core is just absolutely dominant. There's so many players, guys, we could mention. Peyton Gunter over at Nampa. Obviously, AJ mentioned the dogs that were over there at Kuna doing their thing. We've got so many solid players around the valley. We want to make sure people know who they are because Idaho doesn't get the respect it deserves. Now, to end the show, Nampa, Kuna. We want to break this down. AJ, what are you expecting from this game on Friday night? Do you have a winning team? You're going to predict your winner here. What do you think from Nampa, Kuna?
I think it's going to be a very similar game plan for Kuna like they had against Borah, where it's a run-heavy offense, but they've got a weapon. Like Trace Freeman is the weapon at Borah. Gunter is the weapon at Nampa, but Carrillo is the focal point, just like Parker Rushton was the focal point for Borah. So I think I think they're going to have to play. They're going to have to tackle. They're going to have it's on the road. It's not at home, and you better show up ready to play, or you will get blown out of this stadium. I hope that doesn't happen because I'll jump over to Skyview Emmett if it does. Like I'm just kidding, but like I think Kuna needs to find a way to come ready to play, especially on the road. It's a huge game for both these teams. That's why it's our game of the week over Eagle Owyhee, which could easily be game of the week. But we need to show Nampa some love. Kuna deserves the love. They've earned it. so we will have somebody at the Owyhee Eagle game. But I think for Nampa, I don't think they've played a team yet that's going to be able to throw the ball with as many dudes. Luke Snar and Luke Celto are another top combination in the SIC. They're not Jacobson and Lucchini, but they're both juniors, and they're going to probably be the top duo next year. So those two can play. Panda, Caden Turner, he can play. Isaac Garcia. Gus Austin is their secret weapon, their X factor. And, of course, Cole Lukengay, for me, I don't know if there's a better gunslinger. I'm going to go with Zeke as a top quarterback in the league, but Lukengay, for me, if you let him sit back and throw, he'll beat you. He's efficient. He's smart. He's got a nice arm, and he understands each one of his receivers' abilities and strengths and weaknesses. He's very high IQ, which makes sense because he's part of the Whiting family. Coach Whiting, shout out there at BYU girls basketball. Amari Whiting, their cousins. So we're big fans of them. But I think it's going to be a good game. I think if Kuna doesn't show up, I think Carrillo and a true Titus, they're gonna run through Kuna. But Kuna's defense has to continue to be who they've been and show up and let their offense have a chance to go win games like this. It's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait to watch Carrillo and True and Gunter play. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, just to give you guys my insight as far as who I think is going to win this one too. Before the episode started, I was talking to AJ and I was like, man, I was very high up on Nampa on this. Now, as I've talked to AJ and heard his insight about the game at Borah and we've talked about it, I'm not changing my prediction. I think Nampa wins this one. And this is in no disrespect to Kuna. I love the guys over at Kuna. I've got a good, relationship with a lot of those guys. The Lukengay family is amazing. The support that Kuna has shown us as a media entity has been amazing. They've just been super supportive of what we do, win or lose, or whether we predict them to win or not. They've always just been supportive of what we do because they're all about that. They're a tight knit community out there, and I respect that about them. So this is no disrespect. This is me simply saying I think at home Nampa, they're ready to make another statement and they're ready to rock and roll. And they want to show okay, they've played a couple of teams here, but this is probably their first true 5A, here's an up and coming 5A, top dog. Boise, I didn't feel like was there at the level of Kuna. That's just my personal opinion. So this is kind of like their first statement game of middle of the season for Nampa. And I think they're going to come ready to play. I think they've got that dog in Carrillo. And then Gunter has proven as of last week that he can get it done on both sides of the ball. So if they can do that, I think they control the game. It may not be a blowout like I might have thought it was going to be. I think Kuna has the offense to be able to match with them, but I'm picking Nampa to win this game by 10 points. I think Nampa wins it.
Same. I'm going to go with you. Kuna has to prove that they can, because if you don't show up on the road against a good team, you're not winning the game. So they got to show me that they can show up on the road and go and take it. So it's going to be fun. I also want to say one more thing. A lot of people have been asking us, why is Mountain View third on your power rankings over Rigby and Highland? And there could be argument there. Mountain View had a chance to beat Meridian, had a drop touchdown pass that would have beat Meridian. And they also got up on Rocky big early and could have won that game. Okay. Mountain View's for real, Shane. I wanted to say it earlier. I didn't. Mountain View with that defense and Dawson Wall figuring out his new weapons and whatnot. When Dawson Wall has time, and that's a good offensive line. Corbin Meisner, one of the best D linemen in the state, told me that offensive line is for real. That Mountain View is going to have the ability to beat anybody. I'm throwing that out there because they need that love. They deserved it from what I saw. They're going to be tough to beat.
Dude, going to that statement, Mountain View is for real. People are just looking at the record. They played the two top teams arguably in the state of Idaho to start the season, two top defenses arguably to start the season. Now, that's a very difficult thing to do. And like AJ said, not only did they drop a pass on the sideline that would have been a touchdown because he burned his receiver by 5 yards or burned the corner by 5 yards, they did have a touchdown catch in the game that got called back for a low block, which I thought was a questionable thing. So against Meridian, Mountain View had their opportunities. One touchdown catch did get called back. And yeah, while we had some overthrows and there were some timing issues in game number one, Mountain View did have their opportunities to beat Meridian. Not only that, they had three drives at the very end of the game. And Meridian, shout out to their defense, held strong, but on their side of the field. So Mountain View was in striking distance past the 50-yard line 3 times in about the last 5 minutes of that game, striking. And it was nerve-wracking because Meridian felt the pressure. They showed up to play. But Mountain View has proven that they can compete with the top teams in the state, and then they just got their first up. So don't let records deceive you. Don't be a stat watcher. Understand the context behind it. Now, Rigby, Highland, that kind of conversation. Yeah, like AJ said, there's a conversation to be had there, but Mountain View is not this bum squad. No, they're competing with some of the top dogs, and they will continue to do so. They've got weapons everywhere. So, yeah, I appreciate you shouting them out. Guys, I want to remind everybody to make sure you're following everybody on their social media platforms. The reason we do this is because the way we're structured at Idaho Underground Sports Network is we have our separate media entities. So some weeks, if it's not the game of the week, we'll be streaming from not streaming, but we'll be doing highlights on our stories at our different individual platforms. AJ's got all the jerseys, all the names, everyone. He's representing everybody. Make sure to follow AJ at EBC Media. Not only will you get the football coverage, but you're going to get every other volleyball coverage and all the other stuff he's doing. He's absolutely working his butt off. Deserves a sponsor. So make sure you guys, if you want to work with him, hit him up with the sponsorship. So hit up EBC Media. Cherry Filmz, if you want some good highlight videography, hit him up. Not only just to follow and to see his stuff, but if you want work done for you, I would encourage you guys to go hit him up. I mean, he does an amazing job. It's a business. So if you guys want to pay him for some of the work that he's doing and maybe get some of your own players out there, get some highlight reels, chat with him, dude. Cherry's awesome. If you want to follow me at Gametime Guru, go ahead and do so. I have a sports podcast I do every single Friday, launches a brand new episode. I love talking sports, so come follow me on my platform. Happy to have you guys there and listen to my show. And BST, Boise Sports Talk, go follow him on his platform as well. I mean, he is doing an amazing job. He's gotten into the women's soccer over at Boise State, providing them with amazing coverage that they didn't have before. So shout out to him for all the work he's been doing and continues to do as he expands his coverage across the entire valley. And now he's getting through the entire state of Idaho. So it's amazing. Boise Sports Talk has some good coverage. Guys, we are the Idaho Underground Sports Network. On behalf of AJ Niebergall, I'm Shane Larson. We'll be coming to you next week. Take care.
Go Warriors.